Welcome, Slayers of Giants, to Tilting at Windmills.
I am Chrys Gorman, the Executive Merchandising Director at NotAPipePublishing.
I'm Benjamin Gorman, publisher at NotAPipePublishing, and we're here with today's guest, Karen Eisenbrey. Karen Eisenbrey lives in Seattle, Washington, where she leads a quiet, orderly life and invents stories to make up for it. Karen writes fantasy and science fiction novels, as well as short fiction and the occasional poem or song, if it insists. She's the author of the Daughter of Magic trilogy, the Saint Rage duology, the science fiction novel Ego and Endurance, and the prequel series to the Daughter of Magic trilogy, Tales from Deep River. She shares her life with her husband, 2 young adult sons, and 4 feline ghosts. She's also the perfect guest for celebrating our 150th episode because she is our first 4-time guest. She was on episode 2 and 24 and 107, so you can go back and check those out. Welcome, Karen. We are very glad to have you here today.
It is great to be with you.
So you have a book launching. If folks are watching this on the very first day it comes out, then you have a book launching tomorrow, the second book in the Tales from Deep River series, Deep River Rising. So tell everybody about this book.
Yeah, this is the second book in the series. It is an immediate sequel to A Quest for Hidden Things, but it is a standalone cozy romantasy. They can be read one after the other, or they can be read separately, and I think enjoyed just as much.
Yeah.
And this one was kind of a weird one. This is not the book I thought I was writing when I started it.
Why so?
I thought I was writing sort of a biographical novel about an important mentor character who is already dead at the beginning of A Quest for Hidden Things. And I got about 100 pages into it and said, okay, fine, there's some interesting scenes here, but this is not a book. It's just one thing after another. But then I thought, I've also been thinking, wouldn't it be fun to track what happens to the hero's best friend after that quest in the first book is over? Well, okay, the big hero wizard goes off to do something else, and he leaves people behind to pick up the pieces. You'd think a curse is broken, that's a great thing, but there are consequences.
Right.
And so I thought, I can put these two things together.
And how did you come up with that mechanism? Was there a moment where you were like, oh, he finds the book, like he finds the...
Well, it was exactly that. I had these 100 pages of basically a autobiography, and I thought, what if I pick out the really interesting bits and turn that into a diary?
Yeah.
That he discovers on this big red letter day when the curse is broken and things are going to be different. And maybe his mentor is sort of back from the dead, guiding him
right
inadvertently as he makes discoveries.
He is not, it's not like he reads the entire diary and then something happens to him. He's evolving as he's reading the pieces. It's kind of like, there's a novel called The Historian about a woman who's receiving letters from her father.
Mm-hmm.
And she's on a journey. And over the course of the story, she keeps receiving these letters and it changes her as she's growing, right? And I love that aspect of like, oh, okay, what is going on in my life? This is really confusing. I'm not sure what to do about I should mention, for full disclosure, I do not always read all of the books that the guests on this show. They're aware of that, but listeners should be as well. But in this case, NotAPipePublishing published Karen's series, so I've read this book multiple times, and I really, really love it. The nice thing about being a small press is we don't publish books I don't love. Like if I don't love it, it's not for us, right? And this one was one where I was going, romantasy, I don't know if it's my thing. And I've told Karen, made me love romantasy. Like I really enjoyed the first book in the series as well, A Quest for Hidden Things, where there is a little more magic and, that kind of thing. This one is, like you said, the picking up the pieces book. What happens to the people? And I loved it.
Yeah. And it's in this little tiny town and it stays there.
Yeah.
And the story is also small, but because the setting is so small, it fills the stage.
Yeah.
And
Well,
I like doing that. It's fun to take just these tiny little dramas and they seem huge because they're huge to the characters.
The characters, and that's the thing that I'm learning to love about cozies is it doesn't have to be the world is ending. It's that person's world is ending. Like if it matters to them and I care about them, that's enough. And so yeah, I really enjoyed it.
well, and I have to thank you for writing a series of books that stand alone, because I have made the mistake. Ben knows this
Oh, yes,
when I
this
first sat down. I don't know if I've ever told you this, but I did use it as a nice anecdote at comic conventions as we were selling. Because when Ben and I first started dating and I first started going to conventions, I told myself I was going to work my way through like the Not a Pipe library. And so when I got to yours, I sat down to read
it was Wizard.
Wizard Girl, thinking it was the first book in the trilogy, and I got about three-quarters of the way through it. And I had like a few moments where I was like, did I forget something? Like I don't remember reading about this. And then Ben walks downstairs, and I'm again like three-quarters of the way through the book. Ben walks in one day and he's like, "Oh, you're already on the second book." No, no, I'm not on the second book.
Whoops.
What are you talking about?
Yep,
I'm
yep.
on the first
But
book.
in that series, that book really does actually stand alone pretty well because it
It,
takes place so much later.
yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, I could go back in the first book and I was like, okay, yeah, I missed like, okay, there are like a few little things that I'm like, now it makes sense. When she talks about her parents, I understand that a little more, but yeah, so as somebody who clearly can't keep track of numbers, um, three is a lot to count.
Yeah.
I
Yeah, yeah.
appreciate the standalone.
Well, I mean, it's a testament to, I mean, the book, if you want it to work, it's often hard for us to see, would this work
Yeah,
on its own? And
yeah,
so, somebody reading
It's
it
hard for
going,
me to see too,
right?
yeah,
but I go back and go, "Oh yeah, I wrapped up that plot.
Yeah.
yeah,
These characters are going to go on and some of the larger themes will continue, but the plot in this
yeah.
particular volume is wrapped up because I don't like cliffhangers."
Yeah.
Well, and I really like that when I don't mind series books, but I really do like when the central plot of the book itself is wrapped up. And there could be, a larger thing, but for me it's kind of like going back and sometimes when I'm reading series books that are multiple books, I feel like we need like a recap like they do on
Oh, yeah.
television shows. Right? For
Uh-huh.
the first episode of a new season, I want for all the authors out there that are writing series that have 20 books in them, can you just like the first chapter be like, here's a reminder of who these people are?
But I mean, that's a tough call. Like, how much exposition do you do within the context of the story to say, she remembered last year when the following thing happened to her,
I
right?
don't
Yeah.
need that.
Or even just a paragraph that's
Yeah.
Right,
last time on.
Yeah.
right.
And it
I
just
just like
quickly,
how some books have like a map and some books have like the list of characters, right? Like I just need like the first couple pages to be just like a previously on.
Yeah.
Here are the important people that you've forgotten their names and how they're related, and
Yeah.
like a short little,
yeah,
Well, I
yeah.
like that
yeah,
yours does have a cast of characters, but I think this was a really good choice. Which ones are the ones in this series, in this book, in the series are
yeah.
so that you can go,
And
okay, there's
Yeah.
who's important?
your reference
Yeah.
to, but these are
Yeah.
the
And
important.
this was something I failed to do in the Daughter of Magic trilogy. And then after the fact, people would say, "Oh, I wish there was a character list." And I'm like, yeah,
Yeah,
you're right.
not only am I a big fan of character lists, but there was one book, so I'm so ashamed to admit it, and I won't admit it to her face. There's one book in the Not a Pipe library, well, technically two, that I haven't read yet because I'm scared to read them. Which is the staff
Oh,
of
Miko's
staff
High
of Wyndham.
Fantasy. Yeah, they're,
Because the names,
a lot of names.
they're just like they're letters.
A lot of names.
I just like
And they have punctuation in them.
yeah, and so
Yeah.
That
like a
fantasy
cast of
thing.
characters and like a phonetical
Yeah,
pronunciation.
that's not a bad idea for that one. Well, but I don't know if I've told you this, the names in that one originally didn't have any kind of sense of this is a name from this culture. And that was one of the things that Miko and I worked on was let's make all the names within a particular group have some kind of characteristic so that we can see a connection. So all the people from this tribe have a double S somewhere in their name, and all the people from this one have this kind of accent, and all the so that there's some continuity, so that as soon as you see a name, you can at least say, "Oh, that's from that culture." But
Yeah.
you're right; it is still demanding.
Well, and so I appreciate your books that you have characters that have names that I know how to pronounce.
Yeah, yeah.
Like,
That's how I named them. I would go, does this sound like a name, and would it be pretty easy to guess how to pronounce it
Yeah.
because there are some
one way or another?
yeah, particularly when I'm filming like TikTok videos for the Not a Pipe account, and I have to read. That's why I don't do more of them because most of them are like you want to read a passage, and I'm like, how can I pick passages from these books that don't contain any names?
But
Because then I'm
I
gonna have
tell
to
readers,
email the author and be like, can you send me a video clip,
but
like a quick voice note of you
right.
reading the name?
But I tell readers all the time, you can't pronounce it incorrectly in your head because
But
it's
that's in the
and
head.
so like
I'm reading
my
it out
students
loud for
struggle with
like
it. One
a.
of the books we're reading, there's a character named either Eco or Iko. It's just IKO. And
Hmm.
my students will go, "Am I saying it correctly?" And I'm like, "There's no incorrect. If we all decide we're all going to go with Eco in this room, that's fine. And if we all go with Iko, that's fine too. Like there's no right or
I
wrong to
would
how
pronounce it
it gets
different
done."
every single time I read it.
And that's okay.
Yeah.
I when I read the Harry Potter series the first time, I somehow got into my head Hermione. And I just stuck with that. And I read the whole thing. And so when I saw that when they made a film and they were like Hermione, and I was like, who the heck is Hermione? They're pronouncing it wrong.
Oh, I had that. I had that the first time I watched the film, and I went, "Why are they calling him Voldemort? There's no, you don't say the T."
The T is
Because
silent.
I read it as
Voldemort.
it's a French name.
That's funny.
Why is
Oh,
everybody
yeah.
pronouncing it wrong?
Yeah.
You don't say that. Wait,
There's
what?
no right or wrong. Like, we're the readers. The reader gets to decide.
Yeah, unless you're reading them out loud on the company's social media
Well,
platform,
even
in
then,
which case the authors.
The
might,
author might call you up and go, that was wrong, and I
yeah.
can't listen to it.
Yes.
I'm like, I'm sorry. That's why I can never ever record audiobooks.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
you'd listen to an audiobook recorded by me, and every single time the name would be pronounced differently.
But I think any author we would find if we heard an audiobook version of our own book, we would go, "Oh, that's not how I heard it. That's not how I would have said, and that's
Yeah,
okay. Somebody
yeah.
else gets to be part of the creative process. They get to make interpretive decisions. So it's okay. It's okay."
Mhm.
Oh, and I've diverted the story. Sorry, I just wanted to thank you for writing books that stand alone because I've had problems. We'll get back on track, I promise. So my favorite question, the question that Ben indulges me with every time because it is my favorite, is what is the most dangerous animal you would be willing to risk your life to pet?
Okay, I'm a very cautious person, so this would be an unknown domestic cat that I meet on the sidewalk.
That's fair.
I will pet any cat that comes up to me,
Yeah,
which is probably not a cat that's going to hurt anybody because it's a people cat.
yeah,
But
Probably.
that's
but
fair.
you never know. I mean, if they roll over and show you their belly, it might be a trap.
Right.
And
Yeah.
cat bites are serious business. So,
Yeah.
you are taking a chance if you get in there, but
Well, and I've become
You
more
have to tell everybody.
hesitant with strange cats. One night I was riding my bicycle home from work, and I only lived a couple blocks away, and it was like 11 at night, so it was nice and dark, and this was in Independence. And so, quiet street. I'm riding my bike home, and I see a cat on the sidewalk, just like chilling, and I'm like, it's a cat in the middle of the sidewalk. I'm gonna stop. And so I kind of stopped, and the cat kind of wandered up. So I sat down, and the cat curled up on my lap, and I'm just chilling there for like 5 minutes, just petting this cat. I'm like, I'm gonna go with it, until a car drove by with the headlights on. And I looked down at my lap, and I was like sitting cross-legged with a wild raccoon on my lap, just petting. And at that point, my brain
oh,
went, I can't offend the raccoon because it's clearly enjoying the pets. So I can't do what I want to do and like scream in my head and jump up and run away. So like another like 3 or 4 minutes, I'm just sitting there continuing, and I'm like, we're just we're gonna do this until you are done and you have decided. And then it did. It
Oh my,
got up and it wandered away, and I went, okay, then that was.
I mean, I think for you that's a dream.
Oh yeah, no,
Had a
yeah,
rep.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It was the
you're,
surprise
you're
aspect
a
of it,
Disney
though.
princess now, you
It
know?
was the surprise aspect. That was the better experience when than when the dog found the possum in the backyard. That was
Yeah,
horrifying.
that's gross.
The possum survived, but the while we were trying to get the possum and the dog separate, the dog managed to sneak right in through the barely open door with the possum in its mouth and run into the house and
Of course.
which was fortunate because then the dog dropped the possum inside the kennel, which was convenient. So
Right.
I was able to shut it, and then Ben comes in, and I was like, if that possum had been a little bit younger, we would have had a new pet.
Yeah, well, and it played dead and
It did.
convinced us momentarily.
Yeah,
Oh,
it
it
did.
is.
Uh-huh.
It did. And then we
It was fun.
relocated it.
Yes, it was rehomed.
Oh,
But yeah, stray cats can be although if I'm in a bookstore or,
Right,
a
right.
bodega
You're
or anything, the
indoors.
cats always,
Yeah,
I'm just like, yes, more publicly accessible animals that I can pet.
yeah,
But
hmm.
yeah.
that's,
Strange raccoons.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And now we pivot to something maybe a little more serious from that one. What is something that you used to believe in that you no longer believe?
I have a bunch of these, but I'm going to go with a fun one. Hell.
Mm, yep.
Mm-hmm.
I no longer believe in a literal hell as a place of
Yeah.
punishment or suffering in an afterlife.
How did
Yeah.
you come to that?
Metaphorical hell, absolutely, I still believe it. But
Sure, sure, sure. I mean, there's, you getting a job in the Trump administration, like, that
yeah,
kind. But how did, theologically, how did you come to that? Because I think this is interesting.
yeah. Well, I mean, it's been a long process of when I was a kid, I just believed what people told me was true and was like, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
And then, I get a little older and it's like, well, does that even make any sense?
Right.
And am I actually seeing Jesus, for instance, talk about this? It's like, well, he uses it the way we do as a literary device.
Mm-hmm.
There's one parable where somebody goes to an afterlife that's sort of hell-like. And I think the word that's actually used in the gospel is Hades, maybe, because this would have been a Greek
Yeah,
influenced
post
culture.
post Greek
Mm-hmm.
But
conquest.
and I think that okay, they're they're suffering in flames, and I think that's the one place
And it's not
where
a
that
human.
comes from.
It's not even a
And it's
human. When Jesus uses it, it's separating the goats and the sheep are thrown into the fire. So it's not.
yeah. Well, but I'm thinking of the parable of Lazarus,
Oh, yes,
Mm.
yes.
who
But you're
and
right.
the rich
You're right.
man,
It's not
the
a
unnamed rich man
Dantean
who,
fire and
Yeah.
brimstone kind of hell. It's Hades. So,
yeah. And so it's like, for one thing, this just really isn't in there. It's not really,
Yeah.
this is something that's been added later.
yeah.
Yeah.
And because it makes such a great literary device,
Yeah.
people like it.
Oh, yeah.
I,
And Dante did a great
oh,
job.
That's
Don-
like her favorite. She
yeah.
loves
Yeah.
Dante's Inferno, but
Yeah.
doesn't literally believe in hell.
No, but how they depict both, paradise, purgatory, and hell within that are like I love the way he depicts them,
Right.
Hmm.
right? The
Yeah. And the creative way he picks who is in what
yes,
circle and getting
yes,
what
From his own
punishment.
life.
yes,
This person was nice to me, they go to heaven, and
yeah,
this person is a competitor and
yeah,
they go to purgatory, and this person I really don't like. And there they are
yeah.
in the third layer of
Well, and
hell.
I like how the devil is depicted in Inferno
Hmm.
too, as a victim of his own, like
Yeah.
he is just as trapped
Right.
in crazy
Yeah. And that
circumstances.
he's frozen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's frozen in
Yeah.
ice.
And continue
So,
like maintaining the ice himself. Like
Yeah.
I like that
mhm.
that notion. I don't remember, it was either Stephen Fry or Oh shoot, I'm forgetting a
Ricky
name.
Gervais.
Or Ricky Gervais. I don't remember which one of those it was. One of them, I think it was Ricky Gervais, was talking about and I think it was on the Colbert show, Colbert Report, was talking about because he's kind of renowned as an atheist, right?
He's
Uh
what I call an evangelical atheist. He's trying
yeah.
to actively, because I don't think
I don't think
atheism should need
I
promotion,
don't
but
think
he
he's
is.
actively
Oh, I would.
I
He's an apologist for
okay.
atheism.
I like the fact that because Colbert is very open about his own religion, and he told Colbert, "You're an atheist the same way I am. You just believe in one more than I do."
Yeah.
He's
You're
like,
an
"You
atheist of
still
all
have
the
to,
other
yeah."
religions except
Um,
except one. Yeah.
but he talks about hell as what sort of benevolent God would create the most painful, worst kind of torment for the beings that he has created
Right.
as punishment. And then he's saying if that is the kind of God that you believe in, that would do that simply to people simply for not believing in his existence, despite the fact that he could very clearly and without it's like your thing with the donkey. You could
Oh,
very clearly prove your existence, but
Balaam's
it's
ass.
some sort of like, right, some sort of litmus test almost. And he was
Yeah,
like, if that's the kind of God that you choose to believe in that would create this horrible torture, that's the kind of God that like I don't want any part of. And I like
ex
his phrasing of that, right?
yeah, and
How
that
kind
was
of
kind
benevolent
of
can you be if that is the form of punishment that you choose?
yeah, that's kind of where I was getting to
Yeah.
of, well, the God that Jesus is following does not seem to be that kind of deity,
Yeah.
and the book backs that up.
Yeah.
And it just also seemed like it's just not fair
Yeah.
Yeah.
that, especially when the people who literally believe in hell and the people they think are going, it's like, well, those people are often already in hell here.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so it's like I'm I haven't made up my mind about heaven. I like the idea of a place where you go on to something more or it's better, not as a reward, but
Yeah.
just as a promotion, maybe, or something different and better and a relief if you've
Yeah.
suffered in your life. And a wake up call, I guess, if you haven't suffered
Yeah.
and and you get there and it's like, what are they doing here?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
Well,
oh
one
no, I
interpretation
have
I've
to
heard that I
share
think
my afterlife with those people.
right. Well, one interpretation I've heard, which I think is at least more justifiable scripturally, is the separation from God is the consequence, and
Yeah.
the being with God is the reward.
Yeah.
And if and then it's volitional, right? If somebody is
Mhm.
saying, when I die, because I have made this connection, I get to continue this connection. And the other person is, when I die, I go to a place without this connection because that connection is not meaningful or
Yeah.
to me. And then from the perspective of somebody who has that connection, that is cold and empty.
Hmm.
It's Sheol, it's the
Yeah.
non-being in the Jewish tradition because you're just done, right?
Yeah.
But if you've
Mhm.
got this transcendent connection, you get to persist with that connection, and that is the reward, right? And there's a lot of textual evidence that
I like
that's
that.
really the
Yeah.
reward is you get to be with God
Yeah.
because you wanted to be with God. And so it's not a punishment, it's the next step for what you wanted, right?
Hmm.
Or
Yeah.
didn't want or didn't even know about. And that way, Sheol in the Jewish tradition isn't a punishment. It's just you're in the
Yeah.
ground. Like,
Yeah. It's over. Yeah.
it's over. And yet,
And
with.
I'm kind of fine either way.
Yeah.
But there are people for whom I want a heaven because
Yeah.
Yeah.
they haven't had it here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And to be honest, there's people for whom I want a hell, but
When
it's
Then
like,
we have to go,
it's
oh,
not
that's
up to
me,
me.
right?
It's not
Yes,
my
when
it's a good thing it's not
decision.
up to me.
So,
when the whole rapture thing went around a couple of weeks ago, right? Everybody was so convinced. I made a joke that got me in a little bit of hot water on social media with the right it offended exactly who I wanted it to offend. Not offend, but like yeah,
Yeah.
it made them mad. Because I had made a joke that if the rapture happens, and I was chosen, then I would not know because if I was, suddenly sent to heaven with all the people that deeply believe they are going to be chosen during the rapture, that is my own version of hell. I don't want to
Yeah.
spend eternity surrounded by those
The
people,
rapture righties, yeah.
right? And so, like, it would be my version of the good place.
Well, Melinda
Be like,
Mitchell is
oh,
another
wait.
colleague of ours did a video about kind of the history of the idea of the rapture. I don't know if you saw that one where I mean it came about in the 1800s. This is not scriptural at all.
Yeah, yeah. And that's another one that I don't believe in anymore.
Yeah.
That when I was I don't know, like a young teenager, it's like, oh,
And they were pushing those books on us and everything.
yeah,
Exactly.
yeah. And it
When I
was, oh,
when I was in my 20s, my kid was little. A missionary, a woman showed up at the door, and I don't know what church she was with. But I'm in my early mid 20s, and she was 40s, and she knocks on the door, and she says, have you thought about what you would like the rapture to be? And I was like, no, I'm atheist. No. And she was like, I like to imagine that all the terrible people on earth are just wiped out and disappear. All the gays, all the poor people, all the drug
whoa.
addicts. And I'm like, I have never previously pictured the rapture, but now that you're mentioning it, I really kind of hope that all the people that think like you are the ones that like go away. And I don't know what church she was from, but they never came
They
back.
didn't bother you again.
Oh, yeah.
The more we
What
talk
we always say around
about
here
it, the
is,
more.
oh, the rapture already happened and nobody made the cut.
Yeah,
Right?
right. When my parents were in college, they went to the same university I later went to. A very, particular. It was interesting. It was the faculty was pretty liberal, but the student body was often, conservative Christian folks. So there's kind of an interesting disconnect there. But a lot of them were going into the ministry, that kind of thing. And there was one guy who was way holier than thou, to a degree that drove the other students crazy. And so they planned, this would have been in the, early 70s. They planned this elaborate prank where they all, set little piles of clothes and they continued that, set their record players still running and they had a timer and they all made sure they disappeared at the same time. So this guy looks around and believes that everyone was raptured but him. And a little humble pie for him.
Cool part of the rapture that I can't wrap my brain around the anachronisms of that, right? So the rapture, apparently all the good people just like they like disappear,
Yes,
right?
they ascend.
There's no bodies left behind.
No, they ascend, but the
Yeah.
clothes remain. I mean,
But
this is
but
for
not
folks
their
listening. None of this is textual. None of this is
but
scriptural.
Yeah,
not their
Made up
but
stuff.
not their mortal remains, correct?
Yeah, but
yeah.
then there's also scriptural evidence that they get new bodies. So why their
Okay,
bodies need to ascend to then
but
be increased?
if that's the epitome of like the Christian, right? The rapture, why are there so many rituals surrounding death and how to prepare a body after and funeral rituals?
The
That
rapture
I
is this
can't
other thing where it's just about preparing the way, and it's just a
right.
very small
Like
group. And,
those two things are not
well, yeah,
right. Like
oh,
if
consistency is
right.
not
no,
part of this.
Yeah, that and see the consistency thing. That's the part that
that's the
bugs
part
me.
that gets you.
That it's the listen. If you're gonna make a sci-fi book, then all the rules have to match,
Yes,
right?
yes, yes. So.
Not to call the Bible a sci-fi. Well,
So, Karen, what
It's
have
a
you?
library.
Yes, it's a library. Unrelenting, Book 1 of the Grigori Cycle, was a finalist for the Book Pipeline Awards before it was even published, and it won the New Mexico-Arizona Book Award for LGBTQ fiction. Now, Jess Honnard and Marie Parks are back with Undeniable, the Grigori Cycle, Book 2. Bridget has saved her sister Dahlia from imprisonment, but their reunion has come at an enormous cost. Their friend was murdered in the rescue efforts, and Dahlia herself is no longer fully human. As the sisters race to uncover the key to resurrection, Dahlia's former captors pursue them, coveting the ancient powers and seeking justice for their own fallen companions. Multi-Hugo Award-winning author Mary Robinette Kowal called Unrelenting a tapestry of emotion that effortlessly weaves together the threads of grief and obsession. Get your copies of Unrelenting and Undeniable today. Karen Eisenbrey's A Quest for Hidden Things tells the story of a self-taught wizard and a healer trying to keep her powers a secret. They have to lift the curse on the small village of Deep River. In the process, they find one another and learn a lot about themselves. Now Eisenbrey is back with the second book in the Tales from Deep River series, Deep River Rising. This low-spice, cozy romantasy brings us back to Deep River to explore how some of our other favorite characters deal with the consequences of the curse on their village. Deep River Rising hits store shelves on November 11th, but you can pre-order your copy today.
So what have you been daydreaming about lately?
Ben gets us back on track.
Back on track. Well, there's this recurring one about lightning on a golf course. But that's kind of mean. But
Oh, okay. Okay.
it would make a statement.
Boy, would it. That
Oh,
would be
But
yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I was
I don't
daydreaming
think you're
about the
the
World
one that's having
Series, but
those.
that didn't happen. So
Yeah.
I don't think you're the only one having those kind of daydreams these days.
Yeah.
yeah. But I mean but seriously, folks, um, I have been daydreaming about what comes after.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Is that, okay, it's gonna be bad for a while, but I still have hope and belief that we can pull out of this death spiral and we will have the opportunity to make things a lot better.
I think that's going to be a lot of the measure is how willing are people to make something that is dramatically different,
Yeah.
right? If they,
Exactly, not just
how do we just
fiddling
go
around the
back to
edges.
exactly the same as it was before? Then you'll just recreate the conditions, right? But I
Yes.
think you're right. There will be an opportunity there if people can
That
see.
we could, and I've seen some people are putting together a thing called Project 2029, and it has things like, okay, that the Equal Rights Amendment
Yeah.
goes into the Constitution, and we have single payer health care, and all of these things that we could have been doing for decades.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of my daydream that the current disaster is a wake-up call
Yeah.
and that we're somehow able to get our act together in the United States to have some of the nice things that other countries have had for a long time.
Socialized
And to,
healthcare is kind of nice.
Yeah. It's,
yeah,
I hear you. I was just, gosh, no, Jamel Bowie, who's a writer I really appreciated, his columnist for the New York Times, and he has been, writing along the same lines that this is going to be, kind of an opportunity for a revival because things have to get so bad for this
Yes.
wake-up call. And I tend to be more skeptical, and I look back at the history of the United States and say, if the Civil War wasn't enough for a
Yeah.
real reordering, then are Americans willing to do that? Or post-Japanese internment, we weren't willing to say, wow, we really went to a very dark place. What do we need to recognize about ourselves? And instead went, we're going to wait 30 years and do an apology. So I am interested to see how people grab that, but maybe it will be different because of the kind of media landscape. People are responding very quickly now to things. And so maybe that will be an exciting time for people to say, this is an opportunity to make a dramatic difference. Yeah.
Dead air.
And we'll see.
yeah, we're just all like,
I
please.
I I tend more towards the pessimistic these
Yeah,
days.
yeah.
There are a few specific things that I was hoping the Biden administration would come in and do to undo some of Trump's things, to enact protections They could have they could have protected us from the rolling back of Roe v. Wade. They could have passed the Defense of Women Act. Like there are so many things that could have been done in those 4 years.
Well, and I think that's one of the dangers is the next administration doesn't want to ever be seen as vindictive, right? Well,
It's the
actually, I
same
shouldn't say
thing.
the
The
next.
Biden
The
administration
Republican
couldn't be.
administrations have no problem with it. The
That's
Democratic administrations don't want to be seen as vindictive, and
yeah,
so as a consequence, they give up on accountability.
yeah.
And then
Hmm.
if there's
And
never
so my
accountability,
I read an article the other day that the Justice Department, when they were investigating Trump pre-election, they had a meeting, and somebody in the meeting said, if this was anybody other than Donald Trump, what would we be doing right now? And the entire room agreed we would be going to arrest him.
yeah,
Hmm.
And then going, can we can't do that though,
we
can
can't do
we?
that because we'll be seen as political,
Yeah.
right? And it's well, if you're
And
always
then as
afraid
soon
to
as
be
he
seen as
gets back into
political,
office, he gives himself political immunity.
right?
And
Hmm.
that's, and so I sit much higher on the pessimistic and the
But we're
longer
not there.
his
You have to hold
administration.
on to hope.
Yeah.
Hope is
Yeah,
important, people.
Yes.
hope's important,
Yeah.
and I just my default setting is optimistic. So
Yeah.
it's very hard to talk myself into a pessimistic view, even though I
Yeah.
can look around and go, it's not looking real good.
Well,
But the fact that, for instance, we had those huge marches
Hmm.
and riots did not break out,
no.
and and people are not yet responding violently,
Yeah.
and they're not giving him the excuse to
Yeah.
do the Insurrection Act, and which he, would lie about and do anyway if he had even the slightest excuse. So I feel like
Yeah.
a lot of people seem to get that it isn't over.
Yeah.
Well, and there's a lot of the smaller, like the smaller acts that I see that are, that with the EBT worries right now. Every time I see a restaurant saying, "Come on in and we'll give you a free meal,"
Hmm.
right? The members of the military that are coming forward and saying, if he tells us that we have to go to the city, we are, following an unlawful order is not local police departments, right, that are standing next to protesters against ICE agents, all of that stuff.
Yeah.
The judge that's currently dealing with the head of Homeland Security.
In Chicago,
Yeah,
yes, is
Yeah.
saying,
pushing back. So there are these
yeah,
certainly signs of hope, and
yeah,
there are, one of the things I've read is that a lot of the solutions will end up being local.
yeah,
Like the
Hmm.
Washington, Oregon, California Health Coalition.
yeah,
It may be states and
yeah.
localities saying we're not going to do this. And ironically, the federal government, by being so ineffectual, creates a vacuum. And so maybe there's
Hmm.
that states and
Well,
localities will say we've learned we can do this on our
Yeah.
own.
let's
Yeah.
see. You go.
Either we come through this and we do something better, or we break up into little smaller countries and we get Pacifica or Cascadia or something like that, which in my sci-fi book, I had that happening in 2094. And I'm like, did I set it too late? Is it
Right?
going to happen
That
in
sounds
my
familiar.
lifetime?
I'm like at this point, if California, Oregon, and Washington, right, like secede and become part of Canada, right,
Not
which
part of
is
Canada. I don't
no,
want a
but like,
separate country.
but part of Canada is the chatter that I've been hearing, right?
Uh,
England.
Because
yeah,
we're
Baja, Canada.
residents of Oregon, would that then make us Canadian citizens?
Oh, that's an interesting question.
Because that would be great,
But yeah, that would be a country
right?
I would feel safe returning
Yeah,
to. Like
that'd be
that's the thing.
nice.
I think balkanization is. I've heard some political scholars say, one of the kind of four options at the end of a fascist regime is balkanization. Like you just
Yeah.
divide the country up.
Well, sheer size of the United States versus, even where we're at,
Oh,
right? Can you imagine?
oh yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
it's a very, very large country to manage,
yeah,
and the people are not aligned. And
yeah.
even something like Cascadia wouldn't be all of Oregon, Washington, California, because
Yeah.
Eastern Washington, Eastern Oregon, Eastern, the kind of northeastern part of California are pretty red. Like
Yeah.
they probably wouldn't
Mhm.
want to be. So it'd be this coastal country.
Yeah,
Um,
there's
yes,
parts of Eastern Washington that want to join with Idaho and form a
yes,
new
And Oregon.
state called Liberty. And it's like,
Yeah.
yes.
okay, what's your tax base?
That's what I've always wondered. They call it one of the things they've potentially called it is Greater Idaho, and I thought, would it be greater?
Exactly.
It would be poorer
It's
Idaho.
like they don't seem to realize, or they just hate it so much that
Yeah.
you're being supported by us libs over here in the West, and I'm sorry about that. And I don't mind my tax dollars going to support the agricultural counties in Eastern Washington. That's where I grew up.
Yeah.
And so, it's like I am happy to support you, but I know you hate my politics. And
Right. Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing. I mean, there's that, I was talking about this with another on a politics podcast recently, and we look at that and we say, from a kind of liberal perspective, how can these people vote against their own interests? But we at the same time say to billionaires, we want you to vote against your own interests,
Yeah.
right? So, we do need people to recognize if the value is living in a society where we can all be flourishing and fed and that kind of thing, that is against the interests of some people if their priorities are different. And if your priority is to live in a white evangelical ethno state of Idaho, maybe to you that is more important than living in positive community with people who are queer and people of color and that kind of thing. And that really is their higher interest. But oh, it would be a miserable place to live. Like, so I wanted to, in this context, as you're watching all of this and you are trying to kind of maintain your hope, how have you been using your platform to push back? What has been your preferred way to push back?
Well, I tend to be kind of small and quiet, but I'm a writer, so I've been submitting stories to the Antifa Lit Journal, one of which is a thing that I wrote in probably 2015, and it keeps getting closer to being nonfiction, which I absolutely hate,
Yes.
but there, it's like, okay, I guess I was onto something.
Yes.
So writing those, working on the next Saint Rage book, which they'll be fighting fascists in 2019, which gives me some fun opportunities to foreshadow things that we know will happen, but haven't happened yet at the time of the book.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, for folks who've not read the Saint Rage duology, this is a YA series. I love that the characters acquire some of the greatest superpowers ever. You will have to read it. It's really, really fun. And their impulse, the Barbara, the main character's first impulse isn't I immediately need to put on tights and become a superhero. It's I need to start a band, which is so cool that we presuppose, this is the way all people would behave. They would either become supervillains or superheroes. And I love that, a teenager has different priorities.
And she's
Eventually do,
she wants to get rid of them at first. She
right?
doesn't even want superpowers. And then she's like, okay, well, I can use this to punish bad drivers.
Yeah.
And then she's fighting bullies and harassers. And it just keeps escalating. And then she's breaking up a cult. And so the natural progression is like, okay, now she's going to be fighting some, militia or something that's fascist adjacent, if not
Yes.
actually
Superhero,
fascist. And
I would become the supervillain, but targeting the right people.
Yeah, yeah, but she's not. She really her
yeah,
focus is all throughout is building community, really. Like it's okay, now can I
yeah,
get a band? Now can I get a group together? And so the Barbara and the Rage Brigade is she's building this group rather than and she doesn't want to fight. She wants to be with a bunch of people, you know.
yeah. And she's going, okay, who's my neighbor?
Right.
And, who can I help? Who's helping me? Who needs my help, even though they don't know it?
Yeah.
Which is kind of what ends up happening with the antagonist in that book.
Yeah.
And I'm going to bring him back in the third
Oh,
book.
yeah.
He's
He
going to have
does
a
sneak,
role to play.
it's the classic comic
But
book escape, so he can come back. Yeah. But yeah, I think that's a really
yeah.
key
So,
message.
but I like to show that it's not about these big destructive battles.
Right.
It's about you've got superpowers. Okay, you've got great responsibility, but how do you use that creatively to make things better for everyone?
Right.
And, and like, yeah, that might be harder than going out and wrecking things up, but
Have you
it,
seen
it's,
the Marvel the one of the most recent Marvel movies, which was not like critically acclaimed or anything, Thunderbolts. I think it's Thunderbolts. I think that's what it was called. Have you seen
no, I haven't seen that one yet.
So this is a bit of a spoiler for folks out there, but the ending is not let's punch the villain until we win. The ending is let's confront our own trauma and
Hmm.
heal. And it's surprisingly emotionally affecting in the end because the characters have to realize they have to deal with their own stuff and they can't punch their way out of the problem.
Uh-huh.
And that's not something you see a lot in comic books. And that's one of the things
Yeah.
that I like. I mean, the Saint Rage duology is let's let's build something together to get out of our problems. We can't get out of our problems by ourselves.
Yeah.
And I think
Mm.
that's going to be a really important message to keep reminding ourselves of in this time of rising fascism is it's who, it's how we build community because in isolation, people will just, capitulate or, have to run away. We are well aware of this. Like you have to go, okay, I cannot fight this by myself. If I cannot build a group, I need to get out of here. And so I hope folks are building those communities of resilience now.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the other thing, or one of the other things that I've been doing is I'm a longtime member of a very progressive church. And this used to be a big, big congregation with a big, big building. And now we are a tiny, tiny congregation. We don't have our own building anymore. We demolished it and we were working with a developer. We were going to build something new that would have church facilities in it and then student housing. And then the pandemic happened and the economy was not favorable for that. And so we said, okay, we're just going to sell the property to the developer and go our own way. And went through a rental space and then found a church that was willing to rent us space, another small progressive congregation. And now we're in talks to merge.
Oh, that's exciting.
And and so we're doing things together. And it's like, oh, these two communities together have a lot of connections and a lot of traditions that are similar enough that it makes it really easy to work together and look around our neighborhood and go, oh, well, what can we do with the school across the street? What can we do with the families in the neighborhood? What can we do with these nonprofits that we have a long time relationship with that maybe we could get more creative about
Together.
and build community.
Yeah.
So one thing that we've done, it started out as we thought we were going to be giving away books, but people mostly wanted to donate books. But
Yeah.
we've had these events where kids can come after school and they can just grab a book out of the pile and sit and read and do arts and crafts and have snacks. And adults can come and look through the adult books and leave some or take some. And we're hoping to move this more to, yes, please take a book when you go. So
Right.
it's more of a little free library kind of setup, but still have these community events where people can come in and use the space and get comfy and meet their neighbors. And it's really exciting to see how relatively few people working together and coming up with ideas can really improve the community and think about, okay, who else do we want to partner with?
Yeah,
Who do we want to be in solidarity with?
one of the things we'd often have to remind ourselves when I was a public school teacher in the United States is for a lot of our students, school, they would come in and they might be really, projecting, I don't want to be here. I'm reluctant to be here. I'm angry at the world because they were. But the reason they were angry at the world was school was the only place they were safe. Those same kids would often show up a half an hour early and stay a half an hour later, even though
Yeah.
they were sullen and frustrated because school was safer than home. And so that
Hmm.
space you're creating doesn't even need to be you need to take a book or you need to it's here's
Yeah.
a place where you can just be and the people here care about you. And that can be a
Yeah,
really deep, meaningful thing for a lot of those kids. Um,
yeah.
just a safe space. Oh, that's wonderful. So, but before we get to our ending, I wanted to ask you, what is your advice, or as people are going into their week, what is your advice for everyone as they are entering into their week?
Don't dismiss your tiny ideas.
Hmm.
If you have a little idea and you use it, more will follow. And that might inspire the people around you to use theirs, and something new can grow.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mustard seeds for the week, folks. I love that. Okay, well, thank you very much for being on the show, Karen. It's great to see you again
Yes, thank
for
you.
Yeah, nice to see
fourth
you.
time. Yes, and everybody, thanks for joining us for our 150th episode.
Yay!
Take care.
Bye.